Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. As always, it is so awesome to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today's topic is going to offer some thoughts on sound treatment for home studios. I had a good friend of mine, a college buddy by the name of Steve Hatfield, ask me how I treated my room. And I thought I would share that information in a video on the chance there's others who are interested. Incidentally, Steve is an awesome freaking drummer. So if you are ever in the Wichita, Kansas area and he is playing, you should definitely go check him out. You can also see what he's up to at his webpage at stevehatfield.com. Much love and respect, Hat Daddy. All right, one disclaimer here. I am definitely not an acoustic engineer, and nor do I claim to be. I simply have some experience in recording studios over the years and have picked up some things. This video is going to be presented in two parts. The first part is going to cover some basics, the likes, of which Steve and many others already know, but it may be helpful for some. And then the second part will cover specifics that I have undertaken in this particular room. So if you want to skip to that, you may. For those who may not know, the best and most professional of recording studios usually have at least one massive recording room, tracking room with lots of space. And not just horizontal space, but also vertical space as well. There is nothing quite like setting a drum set up in one of these rooms and just hearing how massive a drum kit can sound. Also too, some might think that it might be similar to setting up, like say in a warehouse or something. Maybe the same kind of vibe, but the big difference is that in recording studios, everything is acoustically treated. So in warehouses, sound's going to be bouncing all over the place. In recording studios, it does bounce, but it bounces to all the right places, namely to where the microphones are placed. Even though recording technology has come a long way for the home studio, one thing that's definitely hard to replicate is a well-recorded drum set in a professional room. That is the ideal. There are actually bands, professional bands, touring bands, who will record the drums in a professional studio somewhere, and then they will record the rest of the instruments at home. It's pretty crazy. One big mistake that I made in my first home studio, not this one, but a different one, was I was thinking about my neighbors, and I was also thinking that it would help the recording. So I used like 2-inch foam on the walls. I used it on the ceilings, and the floor was carpeted and everything, and it just killed the sound. Yeah, it soundproofed it, but too much. I ended up going ahead and recording the project anyway, just completely naive. I took it into a professional recording studio to have the project mixed, and in just moments, the engineer turned to me and said, "Did you record the drums in a bedroom or something?" And of course I said, "Yeah." Now he wasn't being rude, but he definitely noticed that there is a marked difference between recording drums in a dead room compared to recording in a very live, open space. We ended up having to compensate by doing some sound reinforcement by layering some samples on that particular recording. So, lesson learned. So as for this space, my current studio, it used to be a detached car garage. I think the guy actually did work on cars, and I converted it, I think it was back in 2009. I always have my neighbors in mind. I definitely respect them and don't want to bug them, and soundproofing was a bit of a concern, but I had to go about things a little differently. So I wanted to treat the inside of the walls, and by that I mean double drywall and double the insulation, thinking that that would take care of some of the sound issues. Had I known, what I really would have done was built an isolated room within the building itself. That would have been a much better option to go. My neighbors, I'd be able to play at 3 o'clock in the morning and my neighbors wouldn't hear me. So, you know, again, you live and learn. And honestly, I wouldn't have had the money to do it at the time anyway. So I just did the best I could with what I had. Maybe someday when I win the lottery, I will redo this current space and do it in that manner. Also, too, this roof is elevated, and I could actually have an elevated ceiling, so maybe that is something to think about. But again, that's kind of a pipe dream down the road. All right, and that brings me to what I've actually done, and I'm sad to say this might be a little anticlimactic for some, but here we are. All right, 17 by 25 foot room is definitely not bad, and I really want to try to utilize that as much as possible. So one thought is that I have done some treatment on this side of the room to curtail some of the drum frequencies. And I have done next to nothing on the other side of the room in order to keep it more lively, especially for room mics. The one exception would be that on that side where my door is, I have some 3-inch RLX acoustic panels. On this side, I'm using some micro suede fabric acoustic studio panels from a company called ATS Acoustics. I think they run about $100 a piece, and I got them from Amazon. They definitely make the biggest difference in the studio compared to when I was recording without them. Bass frequencies love corners, and that is bad, bad, bad. So I store 2 of my other drum sets in soft cases in these 2 corners to act as makeshift bass traps, and they work really well. There's carpet on the floor to help with sound absorption. My ceilings are bare. I do have 2 RLX panels behind my mixing monitors to help tame some of the frequencies in mixing. And you know, that's really about it for the room. I'll have to do another video down the road where I talk a little bit more about the mics that I'm using, placement, signal chain, and those types of things. But again, we'll save that for another day. Well, I hope it's been insightful to kind of share how I treat this room a little bit, for better or for worse. And hopefully it's also been helpful for those who may be thinking about creating some studio space in their own homes. If you are a home studio owner, you know, what are some of the things that you have done that have made a huge difference in your recordings as far as sound treatment is concerned? It would be great for you to help all of us by sharing your comments below, and it's definitely much appreciated. All right, that's it for this week. Friends, seriously, I hope that you are doing well. Light and love to you all. Till next time, bye now.